Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Antalk, where we talk movies, comics, and more. I'm your host, Anthony Withy, and today we are going to review the Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition, Dawn of Justice. So many words in this name, I can't get it right. But today I am joined by my guest here, Zach Warda.
What's up, guys?
So let's get right into it. First off, we're going to go over our overall thoughts on the movie, and then we're going to keep it spoiler free for now, and then after a few minutes we're going to get into some heavy spoilers and get into some deep conversation. So first off, what are your thoughts on the theatrical version?
Me personally, I actually really liked the theatrical version the first time I saw it, and I actually ended up seeing it like twice or three times in theaters. And so I was really excited for this extended cut because of all the stuff I heard about it being rated R and having 30 extra minutes to the movie. And finally watching it today with him, I just really liked it. Like I liked the theatrical version, but I actually liked this one more than the theatrical version. So overall, I loved it.
Yeah. When I seen the theatrical version, my honest thoughts, I liked it. I had a good time. It was a great movie. The effects, the visuals are astounding, but that movie definitely had some issues for me. It definitely had some story issues. There's we've all seen 100 reviews on the original, so I don't want to get too deep into it, but it had its issues, and but overall, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I wouldn't say, I wouldn't be sitting here talking about this movie if I hated that one so much I never wanted to watch it again. But so you like the Ultimate Edition, right?
Yes.
The new one. And I guess what the real question is, do you think it enhances from the theatrical version?
I would say it definitely does, because it just made the movie flow like so much like smoother, because like I felt like the theatrical version was very, like you said, like jump cutty kind of, and this version really just made it all kind of piece together better than the theatrical version did, and just made it make more sense, really.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I think that the extra half hour definitely helped out in terms of making the movie just feel like a coherent scene, movie laid out right, start to finish. And like in the original, the theatrical cut, I did feel like it was a little choppy, and there's sometimes where you're like, what the hell is going on? Where the hell am I? A few scenes ago I was here and now I'm there, and but yeah, I think it definitely enhanced it, but it is 3 hours, so you can see why it would be a tough sell for the studios to say, hey, check out the 3 hour movie. You might lose some audience on that. It's a long movie. You gotta go pee a few times. So from here on out, there's gonna be spoilers. So if you haven't seen Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, go watch it, come back, check this video out. So some of this movie, from the Ultimate Edition to the theatrical, or vice versa, there are definitely some differences. For me, one of the major differences, they spent a lot more time in Africa fleshing out that whole first incident with Superman. Because I know in the theatrical version, it just kind of like, what? Everybody's blaming Superman for killing all these people over there, and you're like, why?
Right.
And in this version, you see they shoot everybody, and then they drag them into a pile, and then they just flamethrower and just burn them to a crisp. And then they they pin it on Superman, and it makes so much more sense.
Yeah, it's like they were actually planning it to set it up to, like, make it look like he did it on purpose so that people would blame him and have no speculation that it was them.
Right, and you find out that's all part of Lex's plan, and the theatrical version, for me, it really didn't, like, you kind of caught on to Lex's plan, but it really didn't flesh it out that well, and I think that this definitely shows that, okay, he was behind the scenes pulling the strings from the get, you know, and he didn't just come out of nowhere with all this. And what are some other differences? Can you think of any?
A small one that I kind of noticed was like towards the beginning, there's a football game between Gotham and Metropolis, and that's just like, I took it as like foreshadowing for, you know, Batman versus Superman, like, you know, that's Gotham versus Metropolis, and it was just kind of foreshadowing on that a little bit. And we didn't see that in the original theatrical version.
Yep, and it's real quick too. It's really only a few seconds. You're right, the foreshadowing Gotham versus Metropolis, Batman versus Superman. It makes a lot of sense. And I think throughout the movie, it's like the extra 30 minutes. You just got a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, a couple seconds here, a couple shots there that are just makes the movie flow so much better. Just so much better. I wouldn't say that it fixes every problem that the theatrical version had, but it definitely smooths that movie out. Definitely makes Lex Luthor make a lot more sense. And speaking of Lex Luthor making more sense, the court in the hearing, that scene, when the wheelchair blows up. First time I saw it, I thought, wow, what a cop out, you know, I wasn't looking for it. Come on. But then you find out that Lex Luthor, again, lined the wheelchair with lead so that he couldn't hear the bomb or detect it. And it makes more sense.
Exactly. And it's like, you know, the one thing he can't see through or whatever. It's just like, it made more sense that they explained that, because in the theatrical version, it's like, why couldn't he stop the bomb? You know?
Exactly. And afterwards, it's like, after the explosion in the theatrical version, he just flies off.
Yeah,
and it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, in this version, you know, we actually see him sticking around and helping to. It kind of like shows that, like, I didn't do this. You know, like I had no idea this was gonna happen.
And he's doing things Superman should be doing.
Exactly.
Right after an explosion.
Right.
And it's really, you just see him bring the one woman down, but that's just it's enough to you know, get the picture. What else for difference? What else a big difference? Oh, when Lex Luthor looks at the security cam.
Yes, that. As short and small as it was a huge deal for me, because, like, obviously most people know I'm a huge Batman fan, and what Lex sees on his security camera footage that we didn't see in the theatrical version, it just like had that Batman animated series feel to it. It was like the silhouetted Batman comes down from the ceiling and grabs the guy, and all you see is like the whites of his eyes, and it was just so awesome. Yes.
So badass.
Like, I'm really glad they threw that 2 seconds in there, because it was great.
I don't know why it wasn't in the original. It's
like,
so quick.
It's
so nice.
Yeah, it was perfect.
And another thing that's different in, you know, this film, the Ultimate Edition is rated R, as to where the theatrical is PG-13, and there is one F-bomb, right? At least one.
Yep. It's like when the guy goes in, sees Lex in the house or whatever, and he's in the wheelchair and turns around and he's like, "Who the fuck are you?" or something like that. Like,
there you have it,
the
folks.
one little,
who the fuck are you?
The one F-bomb.
Yep.
In the whole movie.
But the fight scenes, they're a little bit longer, but my favorite scene in the theatrical was by far the warehouse fight scene with Batman.
Yes, when he saves Martha.
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
And in the Ultimate Edition, it's just barely longer, just barely, but it's top notch. It's brutal, Batman. It's brutal, back breaking, bone crushing, neck snapping. But
he's definitely messing some people up, breaking bones, and we see some actual like arms breaking and bones sticking out. And
you hear loud crunches.
Yeah, it kind of gave it that Watchmen feel in a way, with the
guy gets his head, the blood on the wall, just smashed against the wall.
And then when he slammed that guy on the floor and the blood like splattered on the floor too from his face.
And I don't know what he did to that guy he stabbed. I don't know.
He fucked him up though.
I don't know. He punched him in the nuts or kicked him or gutted him. I don't know. Batman, he was on a rampage in that movie.
Yeah.
This was like no Batman I've ever seen.
Yeah.
At least with the
It was definitely a darker, more brutal Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And even like he was dark and brutal in the theatrical version, but it just like took it to the next level in this version. And I loved it personally. I thought it was awesome.
And one more difference towards the end of the movie when Batman visits Lex Luthor in his cell, and he tells him that he's gonna send him to Arkham. And you just see Lex Luthor's face just drop, and it's just priceless. And it's just like, why doesn't something like that make the original movie? That's only a few seconds, like longer. And it's just so awesome. Like, he's gonna send him to Arkham Asylum.
Right.
And what do you think that's like some kind of Easter egg? You think they're gonna tie that in?
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit of an Easter egg of like, kind of going towards like what we might see in Suicide Squad with introducing the Joker and just Arkham as a whole, because we never really seen like Arkham in this universe yet.
Right.
So it could be like an Easter egg leaning towards that.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Speaking of Easter eggs, was there any other Easter eggs you might have missed your first viewing of the theatrical version, or maybe something they've added to the Ultimate?
I know one that I don't know if many people noticed or even thought about it in this way that I did, but when Alfred is saying that the Russian's boss or whatever is like, he may not even exist and he might be a phantasm. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if that was like kind of a reference towards like the Mask of the Phantasm from the Batman animated series, and they might be doing something with that in the future with Ben Affleck's like solo trilogy or whatever, because that would be pretty sweet in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have just been coincidence that he used that word, but I don't know. I think that would be something that would be pretty cool for fans to see again. Yeah,
I mean, that's a good catch. I bet a lot of people miss that one.
Yeah.
Just a little word that, when whoever wrote that in there, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
For sure.
One Easter egg I enjoy, and it's from the theatrical cut. Hell, it's in the trailers, is when you see the old Robin suit with "haha, the joke's on you."
Yeah.
I love that, because it shows you, not only does it show you that the Joker exists in this universe, but it shows you that, Batman in this movie, he's got a long history.
Right.
And there's a lot, there's a lot of opportunity and a lot you can do with that, just haha, joke's on you, is Robin dead? Is he out there? Could they do the Red Hood story? I don't know how likely that is, but that'd be cool.
I personally think that it would be really cool to see them bring that Jason Todd Red Hood story into Ben Affleck's Batman trilogy, because he is playing an older Batman who has gone through those stages of the different Robins and Nightwing, and all that has happened already, it seems. If he is dead, which it seems pretty obvious that he probably is, it's like the Joker killed him, that's why he's not around anymore, and why he spray painted on his costume. And so it would be really cool, I think, to see it play out like that.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. All right, Zach, so tell me some things you like, some things you didn't like.
That's kind of hard for me, because I really liked both versions so much, especially this Ultimate Edition one, but there are some certain things that I didn't really like that much about it, that, or at least just could have been done differently. For example, I thought they showed a little bit too much of the whole Doomsday thing. It was it was almost obvious that it was like CGI because of how much they showed it.
Right.
And they could have, dialed it down a little bit,
especially with
like the nuclear like power lightning and explosions and stuff like that. It was just, I feel like it was thrown in there to just catch people's attention with action.
Right. Maybe it was the guy. Maybe it really was the troll from Lord of the Rings. And they used all that CGI to cover it up so you didn't notice.
Right.
I think that the movie, the Ultimate Edition, definitely enhanced it, made it a better story, made it make more sense. Superman gets some time. I like that. The first movie, I felt like, what is this? He's so mopey. He still says the line in this new movie when what does he say? Superman wasn't real.
He never
or whatever. It's like, come on, that's not the Superman we know and love. But I think this movie did do a better job making me care about Superman. It did a better job of pointing out why Superman would have an issue with Batman.
Right.
The ideologies, like he's under the impression that Batman's out there just terrorizing Gotham, branding people so that they get killed, and he don't care.
Right.
So Superman is, you can see where Superman would have a problem with that, and I still think that opportunity gets thrown away when Lex Luthor kidnaps his mom, and it becomes a forced fight.
Right.
He does open his mouth. He tries saying like, "Oh, I was wrong" when he first get there, and then Batman hits him with the whatever, and then Superman just walks up and gets in Batman's face and pushes him.
Yeah.
And then it's on.
He totally just like takes away everything he was trying to say to him before when he was trying to explain himself by like pushing him like that, because. Right. Batman, really, he didn't even touch him yet. Batman just kind of got in his face a little bit, and he was kind of just like, fuck you, and just messed his whole situation up, because that just pissed him off and made the whole fight really start.
Right. Instead of just explaining to Superman, because it's not like he can't just fly above him 20 feet and yell down what he has to say. It's not like Batman has a choice at that point but to listen. And then, the Martha scene, it still exists. It still bothers me because it just doesn't make sense. I get it, but it's not what I would call like good writing.
Right.
But I get it.
And I guess that's one thing that I also didn't like about that whole, like the fight scene in general almost, is the very first time I was going to see this in theaters, I was actually really expecting them to really kind of quote on the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel by Frank Miller, when he says, like, in all your days to come, I want you to remember the one man who beat you. Just like one of the most badass lines to me in like Batman comic book history, or comic book history as a whole. And they didn't even have it in the movie, and he kicked his ass.
Right.
And like another thing that didn't make sense to me is when they first announced the movie was coming out at Comic-Con years ago, they opened it up with somebody reading that quote out of the novel to introduce the Dawn of Justice movie.
It was in the original marketing.
Yeah, it was in the original marketing,
right off the
but was not even in the movie at all.
Wow.
So that is one thing I didn't like about it.
I can see that. That's diehard comic fan right there.
Oh yeah.
Get it right. But yeah, and after the Martha scene, they're best friends. He goes, he's gonna go. Martha's a dying tonight.
Yeah, just that quick.
As much as I love the Batman scene, him fighting, it is a little bit contrived. I've heard somebody say it was, really contrived just so he could save Martha. But you know what? Whatever. If you gotta contrive that scene to give me that fight scene,
yeah, it was a great fight.
I'll watch just that scene 10 times in a row, over and over.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
I'm with you on that.
But Yeah, some of the other things I didn't really care for. I said this about the theatrical version, but Lois Lane's storyline is pretty much pointless to me. I mean,
Yeah. With like the bullet and everything.
Yeah.
Like why is that really that important?
the movie's already long enough. It whittles down to nothing because she figures out, oh, it's Lex behind the bullet, and then he's talking to her on the roof, and he's just like, yeah, I did it, bitch. Like,
just straight up.
What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
And I mean, nothing against the actress or the character of Lois Lane, but I feel like already in a movie with so much going on, it just really wasn't needed.
Yeah, and you see, like, it is, in a way, it is kind of cool to see, like, this version of Lois Lane being more, like, outgoing and badass, so to say, versus just, like, damsel in distress, like the classic Lois Lane kind of was. And it still didn't give that importance of us, like, this to the story of Dawn of Justice.
Right.
Because, like, we are already kind of figuring out that it was Lex behind this without the bullet, and Lois, like, going to Africa and doing all those things. Like, we kind of already got the whole Lex is behind that thing without that.
Exactly. And then, speaking of, like, having extra scenes you didn't really need, is there was quite a few scenes with Lawrence Fishburne's Perry White character.
Yeah.
Where you said it, what'd you say?
The scenes with him just kind of take away from, like, the seriousness of the movie. It kind of gives you that comic relief of, like, a break in a way from the whole drama and seriousness of the rest of the movie. Which
is fine because, he is pretty funny in his parts, and Lawrence Fishburne's a great actor, but, this is not that needed. I didn't like I said, Lex Luthor's plan, it's fleshed out a lot more, but still you don't really know why. You don't get his motivation behind it all. Why does he hate Superman so much?
Right. I mean, it could be in a way the same kind of reasons that Batman doesn't. With the whole, like, just him being, like, a terrorist in a way to the whole world because he's an alien, and he's, with, like, the technology and, like, his, like, mad science, like, genius that he has at his disposal, that he can do something about it. And that could be it. Or this version of Lex was he was just kind of crazy.
Yeah, he's definitely not the calm, composed, intimidating Lex Luthor, I would like to see, but he's more of a mad scientist, a Frankenstein type. But yeah, if Lex Luthor felt so threatened by Superman in the same way that Batman did, why'd he make Doomsday?
That's a good point.
That's what
too.
I don't get. Like, why do you make Doomsday? Just
like that. I think that's one thing I brought up to you. Was that I think what they should have done, instead of rushing into Dawn of Justice, even though I absolutely loved the movie, I thought it was great. I do think that what would have possibly been better too is that instead of going straight into Dawn of Justice with Batman and Superman, they should have had, like, a Man of Steel Part 2 that was, like, just like a Doomsday movie, like Superman Doomsday, like the death of Superman, and then have a, like, solo Ben Affleck Batman movie that takes place going on at the same time as that movie, and have those two come out first leading up to Dawn of Justice.
Yeah, I can dig it.
Because that would just kind of make it flow a little more in a way, like,
oh yeah.
And it also makes more sense to that. Like, that's kind of a thing I didn't like about it, was they could have done some things in a different order. Like, when Superman gets nuked in space, that technically in the comic books, it happens before Batman and Superman fight. And in the movie, it happens afterwards. And that's kind of pointless in a way. It's like almost like they just threw it in there.
I really do feel like that was just thrown in there.
Right, like, if you're going to throw it in the right spot so that it at least makes sense. because that gives a reason for Superman to be weakened when
Right.
he fights Batman, which makes Batman
Right.
capable of beating the shit out of him, along with the kryptonite.
In opposed to just getting Superman out of the way for some more Batman screen time.
Right.
To where he comes up with the worst plan possible. To where I gotta get him back to the city because that's where the kryptonite spear is. Like, no, he's fine where he's at. You go get it and come back. Like,
Right.
But whatever. But things I did like, I've always said this, that Superman, the montage where he's kind of saving people all over the world, and they got the people like Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about him. I love that part. And I feel like what that whole scene is about really could have been a movie in itself. You know, do we need a Superman? Like, that's a great question. And I think it really could have been explored pretty in depth, and, you know, it could have gave Lex Luthor, you know, could have built him up in that movie too, but it's not the movie we got. But, you know, visually, Zack Snyder, you know, you cannot deny, say what you will about him telling a story, but him showing it to you, he's incredible. Like, what he's been able to do with Batman, just...
Oh, yeah. And, like, I'll just say personally, Zack Snyder is probably one of my favorite directors now. Like, I've seen almost every single... I'm pretty sure I have seen every single movie he's made. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've ever not liked one of his movies, you know. Right. And he's done such a wide variety of styles and stories and genres of movies that it just, like, I really, you know, can appreciate that.
And again, I just like that this movie, this Ultimate Edition, it really did give Superman more, gave him more scenes, more lines, more everything. He only had like 42 lines of dialogue in the original, which is crazy to me. And it felt, you know, as to where the original cut felt like Superman inside of a Batman movie almost.
Right.
This movie felt more like a Superman movie, and I like that.
Which is kind of what it is supposed to be. You know?
Exactly.
It's kind of supposed to be like the sequel to Man of Steel. So.
And that's why I wanted it to be like that.
Right.
Especially since I am so familiar with Batman that I wanted, you know, show me Superman. You know, make me care about this character. You know, make me care about him before you kill him off.
Right.
You know, when he dies, I want to care. And, you know, this movie did do that a little bit better. I wasn't, you know, I'm still not sold on the death of Superman being completely earned in this movie, but it was better. And my overall, you know, final thoughts, you know, this movie is better than the theatrical. Still has some issues, but a good watch. You know, I'd watch it again. I definitely had a lot of fun. I would look, you know, Batman, Superman. You know, I'll watch one of those movies any day.
Right.
It's my thing. But final thoughts?
Yeah, just overall, I love the movie. It's very, very entertaining to watch, and me being as big of a comic nerd as I am, I love seeing these two characters on screen together, and I really loved, you know, like, this version of Batman. Like, I really feel like this version that Zack Snyder and, you know, Ben Affleck, like, gave us was just, like, really more like the Batman to me versus some things we've seen in the past with, like, Christian Bale and stuff like that. Like, those kind of movies didn't give me the real true comic book feeling of Batman like this one did. Like, this really felt like the Frank Miller Batman that you see in the comics.
True that.
So, you know, rating wise, I'd probably give it an 8 because, like, I really do like it, but there are certain things, like you said, that, you know, could have been done differently or weren't, like, perfect. But overall, it's a good movie.
Yeah, and I agree. That's 8 out of 10, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to have to go 7 out of 10. If I had never saw this version and I had only saw what I saw in theaters, it'd be a lot lower. So,
all right.
Yeah, that's about it for this episode of Antalk. Join us soon. We have a lot more videos coming out, including a review of The Killing Joke that will be released here in just a few weeks. So thanks for watching. See you here soon.